Hi, everybody. Hi, this is Kumiko
Hello.
Kanayama, founder of the Five Lights Center. We started Global Shiatsu Virtual Gathering 2020, April 11th. And it's been our pleasure and joy to organize this gathering. My pleasure is with Eva. She's been helping me so much, and we keep going. And finally, Mihael joined us. We are super excited to welcome Mihael today.
Thank you, Kumiko.
Thank you.
Hello, Mihael.
Thank you very much.
Eva, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, everyone. I'm Eva, and I'm taking care of social media. And so everything on Facebook, you see on Facebook in our group, Shiatsu Community for All, and on Instagram is made by me. And today I will take care of chat. So if anyone has questions that you would like to not ask yourself, you can ask them in the chat and I will read them. And also words of gratitude at the end, just to let you know. And we start first from Kumiko's welcome, and then we go to the lecture by Mihael. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's put our hands together and meditate together. Bring our heart and mind together and send a good energy to everybody who are struggling because of pandemic. And we are fortunate to have Shiatsu in our heart and we can keep going with our stronger body and mind. And let's chant together. Namu Shinyo Ichinyo Toto Toki Miho Tokeo Nenji Tate Matsuru Zangi Zange Rokkon Zaisho Metsujo Bonno Metsujo Gonsho Om Saraba Tatagyata Hanamana no Karomi. And thank you everybody for joining today. Let's reflect our yin-yang energy. Energy is always moving like a water, yin energy, yang energy. And there's meridians in your bodies. It's like our neuron. I am so excited to hear from Mihael for his studies and clinical experience. Such a great topics. It's in the right moment we need to hear. Thank you, Mihael.
Thank you, Kumiko and Eva and everybody here. First, I want to highlight Kumiko's effort during this pandemic. We share a common vision when the pandemic started, to shine a light for our Shiatsu therapy community, to hold space every week. So I'm grateful for Kumiko too, in joining and putting herself out there for all of us. So thank you for inviting me. It's my honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
I could share, if you can allow me to share my screen.
Yes. Go to share screen. And
there we go. Okay. Well, a lot of the time when guests come to my podcast and ask them how they started their journey, I wanted to share a little bit about my journey. And oftentimes for the people that come and see me, and I'm sure that come to see all of you, many people come, every hour when I see someone that they're breaking down on some level, either physically, mentally, or spiritually, or sometimes, most of the time, all of the above. So just like my patients, I went through my own breakdown. Luckily, it happened at an earlier age. And I say lucky because I find that the older you are, when you reach that breakdown, it's very hard to recover. And initially it started with pain, a physical injury, a terrible back injury that was quite debilitating. I was quite young, in my early 20s. And I started to do what I now call the circuit. So I went to the doctor gave me pain medications. That didn't help. It made me groggy, constipated, and moody. And then he sent me to a rehab place. 3 days a week I was there for 3 months. I was being zapped with electricity and ultrasound and made to do exercises, and the pain is not going away. Now 3 months go by and your pain is not going away. You start to get anxious. You start to get depressed. You start to gain weight. You're not moving as much. And I was also a soccer player. I can play soccer. So there was no way to relieve my stress. Financially, it was hurting me because I wasn't working. And when the physio and the rehab wasn't working, I went to the chiropractor. He x-rayed my back. He said, "This is what's wrong with your back." He started to treat me weekly. It wasn't going away. Then I tried a massage therapist, and he looked at my muscles and he said, "This is the problem here." And I was receiving massage. It felt good for the moment, but the pain wasn't going away. I went to the acupuncturist and the osteopath, and things were not going away. And now we're going 6 months in, and my pain is not going away. And what changed it was an ad in the newspaper where the ad said, "Are you in pain? Question mark. Yes. Are you experiencing anxiety? Question mark." I said, "Yes." Are you feeling lost and depressed? Question mark. I said, "Yes." Come and learn how to meditate. So I thought, well, I've tried everything. I've heard about this meditation, and out of all places, it was in a mall. And if it wasn't in a mall, I most likely wouldn't have gone, because the young man that I was at the time liked to go to the mall. And somehow I felt it was safer to go to the mall to meditate than in some temple. So I tried this meditation, and all of a sudden I had an emotional breakdown. It was very, very powerful experience. And in a way that sent me to dive more into meditation. And a week later, I signed up to a silent retreat, 10 days of silence with my pain. And in those 10 days of silence, I started to experience not only my pain, but all the mechanisms that contribute to my pain. My thoughts, my feelings, my past, my disappointments, all I saw just by being with my body, sitting for 12 to 14 hours a day. What are the causes to my pain? And then also what happened was repressed memories came out. And it was quite a scary moment when suddenly something that you were not aware of, something that has happened to you comes up. And oftentimes for people, it feels like the floor from the bottom of your feet drops. And it can be a very dark place. But together with meditation and counseling, I was able to grab myself, and it took a few years, but I healed. And And to make a long story, this is how I discovered Shiatsu. At the age of 25 in the Himalayas, I had an encounter with a master, and 6 months later, I enrolled into a program, and that was my journey. Now, when I started out as a practitioner, again, with my luck, my first patient was a woman that was going through traumatic events, a very dark and abusive relationship. My second patient was a woman that couldn't be touched because she had pain everywhere. She had severe fibromyalgia. My third patient was a cancer patient that just had multiple surgeries and there was pain everywhere. And my fourth patient was a woman that had a car accident and also had a frozen shoulder and a severe autoimmune disease. So that was the beginning of my practice. Now I'm a young therapist trying to deal with complexity right from the beginning. And this has been my journey. And as you experience it in your practice, your patients will guide you in your journey and will force you to accumulate tools, knowledge, and they are my teachers. I really don't have teachers. The people that have come to me are my greatest teachers. And as I got into my practice, I started to study this phenomena of pain that doesn't go away. And I was surprised because it wasn't studied that much. And I used to go to pain conferences to learn what the medical community has to say about pain. And I was actually quite amused because some of the doctors that were presenting in these pain conferences were themselves in pain. And they knew all the top clinics and all the top specialists. And the best thing that they managed to do was to implant pain blocking devices into their bodies. So I realized that the Western world does not really understand pain that much. But in one of the pain conferences, I met some professors from a local university here, the SFU University, and they actually were studying the phenomena of this chronic pain that doesn't go away. And the term complex was added to it. So complex chronic pain is a phenomena that here in Canada, and it's transferable to many countries. It afflicts 1/3 of our population, a little less than 1/3, and that's a conservative estimate. And the cost of it is greater than cancer, heart disease, and HIV combined. And it's the leading cause, besides the common cold, why people go to see a doctor and they go to emergency room, and it creates a lot of disability. So there's, I always look at stats because to me they tell a picture. It's not always the whole picture, but they do tell a picture. And what I learned also from them, that it really takes a team to work with complexity. And that's what I learned from researching over the years, this phenomenon of complex chronic pain. Now, a normal pain patient, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, they have chronic pain, they come, they're wanting to do the work, they're wanting to take care of this pain, they're willing to do anything, and with time, it's diagnosed and the pain should go away. But a complex chronic patient usually comes, again, similar to my case, seeing everyone, spending a lot of years doing it, spending a lot of money getting those treatments, and nothing has been resolved. If anything, many of them have been re-traumatized by some of the treatments that they received. They've been re-traumatized by some of the medical exams that they received, and they develop neurosis around it, and a lot of mental illness. And the compliance with the treatment recommendations that they're given is very poor. So even though you set up a treatment plan, other specialists set up a treatment plan, the fact that they will follow that is very low. And again, that creates a lot of psychological dysfunction. Now, one of the reasons of me deciding 10 years ago to open a center specifically for patients like that is because I saw all the stats and I was quite shocked how many people are dealing with this. So I decided to open a center and surround myself with an integrative team of psychologists, naturopathic doctors, massage therapists, osteopaths, occupational therapists, hypnotherapists. I've had all of them there. And we specifically decided to work with people that suffer from this complexity and also trauma. Because what I found through my own experience and working with many of these patients is at the base of it, there's always trauma. So trauma is at the base of most chronic pain, chronic diseases, autoimmune diseases, chronic digestive problems, migraines, you name it, heart disease, diabetes, trauma is somewhere there. And for 10 years, we saw an incredible amount of patients like that. There was no other clinic like it. So people started to come from the other parts of the country, the US, Europe, and even as far as New Zealand and South America. And they were coming by referrals, and they were desperately looking for solutions with their complexity. I had a team of 15 practitioners. We had to create a way of working with complexity. So we would receive patients. We would sit as a panel. I will have a naturopathic doctor beside me and a psychologist and myself, and we will interview the patient for about 90 minutes. And then I will devise a treatment plan for them and a structure around it. And we will get those results. We also develop a lot of what I call tandem treatments. So oftentimes I will work closely with the acupuncturist, with the patient. I did hundreds of treatments with the hypnotherapist together. And that was really effective because the hypnotherapist will regress their life and traumas and the sources of pain will come up, and I could feel where it is in the body and it will help the body release it. So some of those treatments were highly effective. I co-created and co-facilitated workshops for them, classes. And this is how I developed what I call now NeuroPath Reset. We worked a lot with trauma and chronic pain organizations. I collaborated with cardiology department here in the biggest hospital. I was the first non-medical person to do so. And actually the head cardiologist was so relieved because they were struggling with their patients, and where they were struggling with their patients is that they could save lives, but it was the rehab after that they struggle. And what happened after is a lot of these heart patients that go through those surgeries start to develop pain post-surgery, and that pain is not going away with the traditional methods. So they're not coming to rehab, and they're not receiving rehab. So many of them, even though their lives are saved, they suffer after the surgery, and they're not the same. So this is where they allowed us, myself, I would go there every week. I would bring many of my practitioners with me, and we would educate 60 to 70 heart patients every time we would go there. And many of them will come to our center after that. I worked with rape and sexual abuse organizations. There's a year waiting list here in our Save Canada, in our Save Vancouver, a year waiting list for women in this position. And the women that work with women like that are just overwhelmed. I work with people that have been tortured, and many elite soldiers, that are trained not to feel any pain, and go to very dangerous places all over the world, but eventually break down. And I've worked with many, we always try to help the helpers. So I worked with a lot of the first responders, policemen, and firemen. So I saw in this, what I call my lab, a tremendous amount of complexity. And I'm really grateful for this intense period in my life because I've learned a lot. You know, a lot of people are stuck, and they're stuck in different states. And that is the problem. Those states become so entrenched, so habituated, and they cause a lot of symptomology and disease and dysregulation. So many people that suffer from complex chronic pain oscillate between either a fight or flight state to a freeze. And many of them can be stuck in a freeze state for a lifetime, since the beginning of their life, especially as growing up in households where there's extreme abuse or is repressive. So a lot of people can be in a freeze state for most of their life, but most of us, you know, we alternate between running away to fighting, and it becomes so habituated. And this is what causes, you know, imbalances in the body. Very few of us come back to this nice wave where we feel connected, enjoy, and engage. And as therapists, I hope most of us can come here very quickly, you know, and that's our job. And I love when people with complexity come to me, I like to show visuals for people, because I find those people like that, when they see it, they start to understand it. So, you know, the terminology that I use is also very simple. I rarely talk about shiatsu or what is it that I do. I talk about mostly themselves and where they're at, and I try and show it in very simple ways, and also describe very simple principles to get them out of it. So when they see that all they have to do is deactivate themselves, and they lack in what I call tools to deal with the volume of pain that they're experiencing, or the volume of their sensory experience, it simplifies it for them. One of the tools that I offer right away is what I call catching your breath and cooling the circuits. And I find this one is a very effective tool, and I'll take all of you through it if you will allow me. And it's a simple, you know, the first thing that you can control always is your breath. And if you don't learn how to control your breath, you are not in control. And oftentimes, again, with chronic pain or complex chronic pain, the brain takes over, the nervous system takes over the body and manages the patient or the person. So what happens in the brain, the blood actually flushes to the back of the brain, to the primitive brain. And where you make your clear decisions and discernment, the frontal cortex is deprived of blood. So this breath method changes the blood flow. And I always say simplicity works. If it's not simple, it doesn't work. And especially with patients that suffer from complex chronic pain. So I'm going to take you through it for a few minutes if you don't mind. Okay? So the method is quite simple. You breathe through the nose, deep into the brain. And then when you breathe out, you breathe out as if you're blowing through a straw. And you take your time doing so. So let's do it together for a few minutes. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And out. In through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. Purse your lips slightly. And in and out. Yeah, keep doing that. In and out. So this influences the vagal tone, It helps to slow down the arousal cycle. Keep doing it. And again, it reduces the activity in your glands that control your mood and your responses, your biological responses. And out. In. And take your time out. In through the nose. And out. In. In. And out. In. And out. And what you start to feel as if your brain just cooled off. Pressure comes off the head. You feel that you're more distributed throughout the body. You feel quite grounded. And the frontal cortex starts to expand and just become more connected to your environment. And that's, if you do this for 5 minutes, it's an incredible effect. So simple and yet so effective. And you can do it multiple times a day, especially when you are triggered. And all it takes is 5 minutes to create an effect. Okay? Thank you. Now, when you regain yourself, when you catch your breath, a patient like that, it's really important that you start to train their sensory experience, because many patients that come to me, even getting out of the house is too much. The light is too much, the sound of the streets and the noise is too much, the smells are too much, the movements are too much. So helping our patients through our senses, and the first one is, again, to change the state in the brain. The second one is I call grounding for anxiety. So notice 5 things in the room right now with you. Just notice them. 5 little things in your environment. Yeah, 5 little things. And then notice 4 things that you can feel. Yeah, 4 things that you can feel. Maybe feeling your skin, your temperature. And then notice 3 things that you can hear. I can hear the buzzing from the lights. I can hear a little bird outside my window. Yeah, and 2 things that you can smell. And 1 good thing about yourself. So choose 1 good thing about yourself. I like the fact that I'm always warm. That's the 1 good thing I'm choosing about myself. So in this way, again, emphasizing using our senses, especially after you ground yourself with that breath, it's such a great tool. And I constantly use tools like that to train the sensory experience of the patient. Building boundaries is everything. Sometimes I'm asked to do talks in schools, people that I worked with in the past who become teachers in their different modalities, they bring me to the schools. And recently I did a talk with the naturopathic school, all this, know-it-all doctors to be of the future. And they sit there and I said, everything that you're learning right now, all the formulas that you're learning, the diet plans that you're learning, all the medications, the IVs, all the tools that you're learning, and now none of it will work until you establish one thing, and that is boundaries and trust. And to me, boundaries and trust are interchangeable. So you start with creating space. What is creating space? Creating space is really becoming the owner of your space. Every inch of my room is an extension of me. Every inch of my room is an extension of me. So when they come to my room, I have them. I'm always in control. This is my space. Being really clear, especially with complex chronic patients, everything has to be documented. Everything has to be explained very clearly. And sometimes multiple times, multiple times. And oftentimes I actually have everything written down before I even start working with someone. And many of them, I offer them a contract to work with me. You have to sign this contract. These are my expectations that I have. You will have expectations of me, but I expect you to be accountable in this process. And I want you to choose 2 accountability witnesses to make sure that you're ready to do this work, because it's not going to be easy. So being really clear is everything. Learning as much as you can and being trauma informed. Receiving additional training around trauma, because most likely every patient that you're touching has been traumatized. Self-work is a must. If you don't resolve your own traumas, you won't help others resolve theirs. You gotta work on your own stuff ongoingly, and my patients always remind me of that. And I'm sure you see that constantly. Our patients are mirrors many times. Being highly professional, raising your standards of professionalism. People trust that. How you look, what your treatment room is like, how you behave, how you communicate with other professionals, how you communicate with a patient. High level of care. What differentiates me from others is my high level of care of this patients. And that's what builds trust. When they really feel that you truly care. Development of senses and palpation skills is everything, but because, as you know, the hidden is so important, because patients don't always tell you the truth, especially complex patients, and oftentimes they lie actually. So, and that's what I tell those naturopathic doctors. Most of your patients lie to you. They're lying to you right now. And anyways, their perceptions are distorted. So whatever they describe is not always true, because they operate in a distorted state. So your palpation skills and your intuition has to be developed. Watching self, make sure that you're not transferring your own stuff, your own triggers onto the process. Watching your ego. Working with complexity is tiring. So self-care is everything. I've worked with many professionals who are burnt out, being exposed to trauma work, being exposed to complexity work. It can be tiring. So self-care is so important to maintain those boundaries. And also to prevent yourself from receiving Jai-ki or negative energy from that person. A typical patient, oops, sorry. Oh, what happened to my scroller? Yeah, a typical patient is disorganized, that distrustful, that testing you always. some of them, I even tell them in the beginning, one day you're gonna say you're gonna like me, I'm the best thing that you ever met, and another week you're gonna say you don't trust me, and this is not working for you. They are resistant to change. Many of these people are resistant to change, even though they've been craving change sometimes for a lifetime. But with change, there's always built-in resistance. They have blind spots. They just can't see because of fear or because of their state. It's like having blinders around, and you can't see. And this is where you see patients repeating patterns, repeating behaviors, repeating the same relationships. In their story, in the case story that they tell you, you see patterns, and that's because of blind spots. Again, they have distorted perception. Some of them are highly aware, but at the same time can be completely numb. And they tend to self-sabotage. And that happens a lot. And I always preface it again with the people that come to me. The only person that is going to be in the way is you. And you're gonna come up with excuses, you're gonna bump your injured knee into the table on purpose, you're gonna fall on purpose. You're gonna do everything to self-sabotage. And many of them lack hope. They feel helpless and despair. And this patients, again, how do you teach embodied trust? I mean, many of us trust, but we trust with conditions, right? And the conditions are always broken. So we lose our trust. I learned to do this exercise where I teach them about boundaries and trust. And it's something that I will highly recommend for you to try out with a partner. And the exercise is quite simple. The person sits in front of you, and you tell them, this is our boundary that divides us. And I will represent life and all the people that are in your life. And I'm going to try and cross your boundary. And what you're going to do is just meet me at this boundary line, and our hands will meet, and this will create pressure. The kind of pressure that you're always feeling when your boundaries are crossed, when life crosses you, when people cross you. And as you feel this pressure, notice where you feel it in the body. Notice your pain. Notice what's weak, what's strong. Notice where you feel restriction or numbness. Notice what the physical body does with this pressure. And then as you notice the physical sensation, what does the mind stir up for you when you notice these physical sensations? So then they start to discover the patterns in the mind, what the mind does with this pain, the story that the mind develops around this pain. And then notice what emotions it stirs up for you. And where do you feel those emotions? And maybe eventually you come to the state that you live in. And this process encapsulates their level of boundaries and how they interact with life and people on the physical, mental, and emotional. And oftentimes it's an eye-opener for them. It's a strong, visceral experience where it reaffirms to them the state that they're in, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then I introduce an exercise that I'll take you through it too, to show them that once you implement, or what I call put a deposit of trust inside of you, the physical and the mental and the emotional, and even sometimes the state can change very quickly. So this is the exercise that I give them, and I want to gift it to you too, because many of you can use it right now too, and we can always use the deposit of trust. So this is what the exercise is like. So I want you to put one hand over your heart, and just before you put the hand over the heart, feel your sternum, the flat bone here, with your fingertips, and notice if there's an area of discomfort or pain there. And let me know if you notice that. Any area of discomfort or pain in the sternum. And if you don't, that's okay. But if you did find that area, I want you to put your hand right where that area is. And once you place your hand there, you're gonna input this deposit of trust. And it's I've given this to thousands of people over the years, and it could be a game changer for many of our patients. And this is where they start to feel that they have more hope. They start to feel that they can trust more, and they, more importantly, can start to feel the physical and mental and emotional change very quickly. And this is what it looks like. So I want you to repeat these words after me. And when you are saying those words, you're gonna input them into that area that you felt in your chest. I forgive myself unconditionally. Say it. Say it out loud. I forgive myself unconditionally. I forgive myself for the things I have done and the things I have not done. Say it.
I forgive myself things that
For the
I've
things
done
I've done and the things I have not done.
and the
I
things
forgive
I've
myself for the things that I've said and the things that I have not said.
I forgive
Forgive
the things
myself
I've
for
said
things.
and the things I
Said?
have not said.
Yes. I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
Yeah, say it like you mean it though. I love myself.
I love myself.
Good.
I
I
love
promise to care for myself.
I promise to care
myself
for myself.
I promise to protect myself even from myself.
I
I
promise to
to
protect
protect
myself
myself
even
even
from
from
myself.
Yes. And I promise to nurture a relationship with myself.
I promise
to
nurture a
nurture
relationship
A
with
relationship
myself.
with myself. Now this next line you're gonna say as if you had enough, without enough energy. I forgive myself unconditionally.
I forgive myself unconditionally.
Now all pain, fears, negativity, and darkness leave me.
All now pains,
Now all
fears,
pain,
negatives, and
negativity,
darks
and
leave
darkness.
me.
believe.
I am the master of this being.
I am the master of this being.
Breathe in 3 times. Okay, what creates embodied trust is unconditional forgiveness. Unconditional forgiveness, one part of it is letting go. The other part of it is reclaiming what we lose. What we lose is always love. Love and self. And then letting go and love are great, but it's nothing if you don't throw accountability behind it. It doesn't mean anything. The accountability is always based on 3 promises: self-care, self-protection, especially from self, and developing and nurturing a relationship with self. And once you throw that accountability and you assume control, enough is enough. This pain that is inside, the fears that create a lot of my pain, the negativity that the fears create, and the darkness, leave. You know, you assume control. You command the body to trust you and the pain to leave. And when I do this with people, and then we redo that initial boundary exercises, everything starts to change. And oftentimes people are so surprised how much can change so quickly just by doing this. And that's what embodied trust creates. Trust integrates, unifies, starts to create order, congruency, and also release resources, physical, mental, and emotional resources for the person. as I said, I like to explain things in simple terms, and some of my principles in NeuroPath Reset Method, are quite simple. The first one is all about realigning yourself. One of the things that I do with patients after this process that I take them is I do what I call mirror work. Because if your patients have distorted perception and they don't trust, and by the time they come to see you, they've seen so many therapists, showing them proof and showing their eyes what you see is so important, because then they start to see what you see. So I do a lot of mirror work, and I do work a lot with alignment. I even take pictures, because if you don't have proper alignment, there's always stress. There's always stress. There's always managemental stress. And your body is a reflection of your state. How one holds themselves reflects their state. I can look at 10 people walking around and I can tell their state. I can tell what happened to them when they were kids. We as Shiatsu therapists in particular, we can intune so much information just from looking. Okay, so if we can share that information by having the patient look in the mirror, say, this is your posture right now. Why are you holding yourself like this? Why? Ask them questions. Why this shoulder is all the way here and this shoulder is all the way there? Oh, my chiropractor told me that it was my hips. And I said, no, let's really explore why your shoulder is here. What's happening around your heart? What's happening in the neck? What's happening in the back? What if you just breathe into it? And this way, you start to educate them about realigning. So alignment is everything. When they see that the alignment changes, they start to believe that they're changing too. They feel different. Number two is reset. If you don't teach your patient and you don't enable them to experience what I call a reset, in a way, just a little, that little breath work that we did, that is a little reset. And I work a lot with the nervous system in the beginning. And my whole point with working with the nervous system is to teach their nervous system how to reset easily, introducing ease into the mind and the nerves. Now, when the nervous system resets, the energy body is ready to release. The visceral layer is ready to release. The heart is ready to release much more readily when the nervous system resets. And then releasing is all great, but a chronic state depletes the patient, depletes their strength, their mental strength, their physical strength, their emotional strength, and even their spiritual strength. So if you don't introduce tools of resilience, and you don't teach them how to become resilient, you're doing a disservice. So you can help them release, but it's important to give them tools of resilience and to guide them and mentor them and coach them how to exercise those tools with the inevitable triggers. Triggers are inevitable, like storms in nature. They are inevitable. They will come. And they're not something to be scared of. They're there to exercise with. It's like having an exercise partner. So that's the key, because that's when the patient goes, aha, this trigger that usually makes me run all the way back to my room and lock myself in, it's not so bad. And not only after some time it's not so bad, it's not even a trigger. And then helping them reintegrate that. Reintegrating themselves is such a key. So I want to take you through an alignment exercise. And I call it becoming the tigress. So if you can all stand up with me, I'll be great. And this is something that you can teach your patients too. the primitive brain is very animalistic. They call it the reptilian brain. So a lot of us act like animals. Most of us run around like rabbits, living life coming from one hole, running into another, the whole time afraid. What will happen to me? Some of us live like hamsters, spinning a wheel over and over again. Some of us like sheep, being herded together, and many of us are black sheep, I'm sure. So I always said, become the tiger, become the tigress. Why? Learning the mannerisms from nature has always been a tool that human beings have used. We learn so much from nature. So adapt the mannerism of a tiger or a tigress. You slow your body mind, you breathe into it, you extend, you open your chest. So I'll take you through it. So the feet, if you had a clock in front of your feet and 12 o'clock is right in the middle, the right foot is at 1 o'clock and the left foot is at 11 o'clock. So just adjust your feet. 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Once you adjust your feet, do a little roll, just like a bamboo with a wind coming through it. So do a little roll and allow that sway to naturally stop. So you do a little roll and allow that sway, the natural sway, to stop naturally. And once you stop, feel yourself sinking. Feel the whole foot on the floor. And as you feel those feet on the floor as if they had suction cups, extend your crown. And as you extend your crown, allow your coccyx, your tailbone, to drop. And when that happens, the pelvis shifts from here to here. When you allow the extension from the crown and you allow the coccyx to drop, your pelvis girdle just relaxes. And once you feel that traction, breathe into the vulnerable side of you. The vulnerable is the front. So breathe into the throat, breathe in and around the chest, as if you soften it, whatever your body has been protecting. Breathe into your solar plexus and breathe into your abdomen, as if you're trying to soften all these areas that you're protecting. Hold intention in. And once everything softens, or softening in the front, imagine a line coming from the heart and breaking forward very gently, as if your heart is opening and there's a line that coming out of it, energetic line. And then what I want you to experience is walking around the room like this. And as you walk around like this, notice your environment, notice how you feel. As if you are the tigress, slow down. The tigress never rushes. She never exerts effort until she plays, mates, or eats. Even when the monkeys throw coconuts on the tigress never even looks up. Crazy monkeys throwing coconuts. When the hyenas try and aggravate the tigress, all she has to do is look at the hyena and say, "Are you crazy? I'm a tigress." So it's complete relaxation, but high awareness. Your peripheral vision expands when you're in this posture. If you default to your usual posture, your peripheral vision decreases. When you allow yourself to come to this posture, you can even see behind you. So let me know how that felt for you.
Feel great.
Yes. Is it possible to feel like this all the time?
That's where that's the practice. And I always encourage my patients to practice this posture with the person that triggers them the most, or in the environment that triggers them the most. Because oftentimes there are people in our lives that trigger us all the time, that cause us pain. There are environments in our lives that cause us pain, stress, pressure. So if you can exercise this posture, this state in the environment or with the person that triggers you the most, this is where you build resilience. And it's oftentimes the lack of tools that, again, cause and trigger the person over and over again. So once you give them the tools to exercise in life, change begins, and they come back and they say, oh my God, I'm starting to feel different. I'm starting to perceive different things. Even walking on the same street, they start to notice things they never noticed before. They're starting to notice that they're not responding in the same way.
Rita said, brilliant exercise and love it, full peripheral vision.
Yes.
Warm and calm inside.
Yeah, and oftentimes in my treatment room, we do a before and after. Okay, go back to your posture. How does that feel? Oh, it feels tense. I feel like it's so much effort. I feel stress, anxiety, and then we do this. How do you feel? Oh, this is so easy. I can breathe better. I can see more. It feels like I can slow my mind down. So when you do this before and after, once you do it enough times, they don't want to go back to the posture that they had. Because now they found it's like going into a different car. You don't want the old car anymore. You want to drive a new car. You want to drive it in a different way because it feels better.
Yeah, so Dan says, with alignment and good posture, we are able to meet anything. And she says, it feels spacious.
Yes. And sometimes I take those patients on the street, those patients that I mentioned that their sensory experience is so overwhelming. So with some work in a safe space in the clinic, then the test is to take them to the street. Or I've worked with patients that have unfortunately have killed other people through a car accident or a work accident. And again, even driving triggers the trauma again, or being a passenger in a car. So sometimes I take them in the car, or I take them to the street, and we exercise, our tools, and that's how they get over it. That's how they heal. They need proof. They need tools. They need support, and they need proof. So those tools are invaluable for people. Reset, a second principle, I call it working with the intelligence of the body-mind. The body-mind has a tremendous intelligence, and most of our patients are not aware of it. Of course, Shiatsu provides access to that intelligence, but there's other ways also. And again, working with the nervous system is usually so easy and so effective. And then when you teach the patient how to work with their own nervous system, they're just in wonder and in awe of how something so easy can work so quickly. And that's a key, because everything in life, including all the treatments that they receive, it's so arduous and difficult and sometimes forceful and invasive. And it's not autonomous. The person is not doing it themselves. It's being done to them. So when you give them tools where they can do it themselves, and again, they can have a way to measure that it's effective, it's a game changer. They buy in, and they will do it because it's so easy and it's effective. So one of the tools that I use is to relax the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve, there's a branch that runs through the sternomastoid muscle just underneath. And what I found, actually, the contraction of this muscle is a reflection of the vagus nerve. How many of you have touched this area and it's like a rope for many patients? And one side tends to be more than the other many times, right? And sometimes it's been like that for a patient for years. You know, I have an 82-year-old man, and his whole left side is like a, you know, made out of stone. And it's been like that for years. And so I work a lot with the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve affects many of the organs, your breath, the way your blood circulates, all the major organs. So a lot of the diseases or the chronic pains that people experience in the cavity coming from the vagus nerve. A lot of the headaches, the migraines, and the post-traumatic stress is coming from there. So one way is to palpate and see how your vagus nerve is doing today. And if you find that one side is quite tight through that muscle, the sternomastoid muscle, I'm going to introduce a way to soften that for you. Okay, so once you discover which side is tighter, we're going to target that side. So for me today, the right side is slightly tighter. So I'm going to target the vagus nerve here. The process is, again, assessment and movement towards pleasure and comfort. So if my movement away from the pain is more pleasurable, that's where I'm going to go. So for me, the movement works better coming to my right side, because when I go to my left, I really feel my right, where it's tight. So I'm going to go to the same side because it feels better than going that way. So this is the movement. I take a breath in, and with the exhalation, I very slowly, micro movement to my right. With the breath out. And I continue to move, very micro movement. And as I move, I imagine that I gently contract this area, as if I'm putting a blanket over that nerve and trying to soothe it with my mind's eye, with my brain. And then there's a moment where I let go completely, like a noodle. My whole body is a noodle. And I breathe in and out to allow my mind and my body to recalibrate. And I do it again. Slow, very slow movement. Micro movement. And again, as if I'm trying to squeeze gently the vagus nerve right through here. As if I'm putting a blanket over it, trying to soothe it. Okay, vagus, just relax. With a very mindful contraction, really coming from my mind, not contracting my muscles. And then I fully relax, I melt. And a breath in and out. And I do it one more time. So three movements. And again, micro movement. Micro movement with the intention of contracting the vagus nerve. Again, without visual or putting a blanket over it. Okay, take a break, vagus nerve, relax. And completely relax. And breath in and out. And then I check, did it make an effect on it or not? Usually after 3 times, there's some effect. If there isn't, I encourage them to do more. And there's a sequence of movements that I teach them to relax the whole nervous system. But we always start with the vagus nerve. And most people fall asleep, even people that are hypervigilant after this. And when you do that in successions, in multiple sessions, and they start to do it themselves, especially those trouble areas, especially the vagus nerve, there's cumulative change that happens very rapidly in the pain patterns. Sometimes to the point of it's miraculous. They can't believe it themselves. And that's it, really. That's what I want to share with you. I hope you enjoy those tools. And again, the key in the process is tools to help them reduce the volume of their pain, good support, good coaching, high level of care, and and the results can be there. I'm so grateful to do this work, and I'm honored to help people like that, and I enjoy the work, and I witness the miracle that the body is on a weekly basis. And when I see even all the patients at 82 years old, when I see his pain that was there from the late 70s all of a sudden disappear, and a big growth that he had on his shoulder disappear in just a few short weeks. I'm always in wonder that it's never too late, even for someone like that. So yeah, that's everything that I want to share with you today. Thank you for being patient and listening and going through some of those exercises with me.
Thank you. Feels so good. Yes. Any questions?
Mark said that he feels a sense of expansion of energetically and with sensation covering a larger area. And it was about the tiger exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And Max said really nice, simple, mindful exercises to share with patients. So.
Simple is the key. Initially, simple is the key. Nothing complex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One tool, try it for a week. Let me know it's working for you or it's not. It's working for you, it's not. And they wanna see that it's working. And if it's not working, let's try a different one. Make sure that it's simple. Because I always say to them, you need to cross this valley. It's your valley of darkness. And you come into me and you want me to help you cross this valley. I don't have a problem crossing this valley. I've crossed it one day myself, and I've taken thousands of people through it. But the only problem is, you don't have supplies, and you don't have food, and you don't have water. So how can we cross this valley? So first, we have to give you water, we have to give you food, we have to give you supplies, so you're ready to go on this journey, because it's going to be a journey that it involves different stages. So initially, you want to feed them little by little tools until they get stronger. Then you can do more. You can do more.
Yes.
Yeah, so Natasha made the point that it's not simple for people who have no energy to do it. So how that means that you need to start from really simple, right?
Well, that breath work that I showed is very simple. You know, the posture that I showed is very simple. You know, this exercise to start manipulating, learning how to manipulate your own vagus nerve is very simple. My treatments with them are very simple, honestly. Very simple. And I tell them, yeah, you don't have energy. There's nothing that complicated that we're going to do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm curious about how your clinic is organized. I mean, treatment. Sorry. When patient comes in, is the stages that they go through stages of healing, or few things at the same time? How often? How long is the treatment, and things like that?
Well, this is where experience comes in. I mean, you have to assess in the first session. In my first session, it's it's 90 minutes. So I take the time to really assess where they're at physically, energetically, psychologically, emotionally, and also what's going on in their life right now. I ask everything. I want to know everything, and I especially want to know the hidden. So once I touch them, I really know, you know, and based on that initial session to 2 sessions, I know how long it will take. I know what they can handle right now, what to give them first, and that comes with experience. And I can, in a way, predict it for them, and I give them an approximate time. I'm very clear how long it's going to take, and what to expect, and how we can measure it. And that's based on my experience, seeing tens of thousands of patients.
Yeah, you said around 15,000, right?
Yeah, 15,000 or so, just myself, one-on-one. When I had the center, I would walk like from one room to another, half of the day, and I would assist, you know, a lot of the treatments and do a lot of tandem treatments. So God knows how many of those we did.
So do you have fixed length of the therapy, or everyone has individual? You said that you at the interview, you said the treatment, but do you have fixed time or stages, steps?
Yes. Again, the patients that come to me, you know, a usual presentation is a lot of pain, some kind of an autoimmune disease, digestion problems, sleep issues, they're on medications, you know. So it's important to take time with those patients. And that's most of my sessions are 80 minutes or 90 minutes. And they're broken down between, you know, understanding again where they're at, what's going on with them mentally, emotionally, and then physically, the actual treatments and what kind of treatments they need. And I have a lot of tools in my toolkit, but always in the beginning, I always work with the nervous system first, a few times, and that takes time because you have to take your time with the nervous system, but it's also fun. It's not hard, it's easy, but you have to take your time. You have to be patient with it. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I guess. Thank you. My other question would be, because it sounds also from your saying that you are at the clinic, you are the Shiatsu therapist, or you have other therapists, and Shiatsu does not play the main role. Is that correct?
Shiatsu, when I no longer have that clinic. I closed it just before the pandemic, but Shiatsu was the main role. I mean, I was doing everything there. I was creating the programs that involved all the other therapists. I was teaching. I was creating workshops. I was, the lead therapist also in those programs. So Shiatsu was definitely, a huge factor there. Was a huge factor.
Okay. So what advice, because obviously you have really, really great experience with so many therapies that you organized.
Yes. I advise Shiatsu therapists to work closely with other modalities. I learned so much from working with psychologists, counselors, hypnotherapists, naturopathic doctors, TCM practitioners, osteopaths. Occupational therapists are great at educating and measuring and assessing. Physiotherapists are great at assessing. Naturopathic doctors, I call them the internists. They do a lot of internal medicine, and they're a great ally to have because they can do also all kinds of testing. They know a lot about the medications that are prescribed to our patients. So learning how to work with other professions, other modalities is such a benefit. You learn so much. I felt like I went to university for 10 years with each modality. So I learned so much, and I've adopted so much of that knowledge. So now when I see a patient, I can see them from every perspective, what they need. And I still work closely with many of those professionals. So I highly recommend that. Get out of just the bubble of Shiatsu and learn about other modalities, how to work with other practitioners very closely. Because in the center, we can do incredible things in a month with diseases and chronic pain. And that's the beauty of working with a close team, a really good professional team.
Yes, I think you answered my next question, because I wanted to ask you about the advice. Obviously, you have Shiatsu practitioners here at the gathering. So what would you advise for future, what to focus on?
Yeah, become trauma informed. Become trauma informed, because my journey has been based on my own trauma. Everything that I learned about this work, it all boils down and distills to trauma. So become trauma informed, learn more tools around how to work with trauma. That's such a huge part of the complex chronic pain patient. And again, learn a little bit about every modality. I have an obsessive nature, and I constantly learn from other techniques and other modalities. So it's always so enriching, because at the end of the day, you have to find something that works. And Shiatsu works for a lot of things, but it's not always the end all of everything. So it's good to broaden your perspective and bring other manual tools. and other theories into it, both Western and Eastern. And it helps at the end of the day, it does help. And also continue to harness your intuition. Because when you work with complexity, there's a lot that is hidden. You know, the source of pain is not where it exhibits itself. So harnessing your intuition is everything.
So team up with other therapists.
Yes.
Right? To
Yeah.
offer
Become
multiple-
trauma informed and harness your intuition.
Yes. Okay. So here in the comments, the last exercise to support vagus nerve, releasing tight SCM on the right has released sharp pain in my lower left ribs. Thanks, Mihael, for the work that you do to support so many. Big hearts, but that's wrong.
She definitely noticed a pattern there, and this is where we'll follow up with Dawn and explore what's there, right? And that's what happens when you work with the vagus nerve. Yeah, it sends you right to the cavity, and you can discover a pathway of a chronic pattern.
Rita said that she's sorry and has to go, but she says thank you all and all the best to everybody. Thank you, Kumiko and Mihael, for your efforts. And Fernanda says, thank you, Mihael, for sharing your knowledge. It was fantastic.
Thank you, everyone. Very kind.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mihael. It was
Thank
such a
you.
great presentation. And we, Shiatsu practitioners, we have so much to learn. And so great to have you today. Thank you. And
Thank you for having me,
Yeah.
Kumiko.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So please
And-
keep your podcast and all your great work. And we are always learning from you. Thank you.
It'll be great to have you also on the podcast. Turn the seat.
Oh, I'm just Shiatsu person.
No, we'll have you on Everything Shiatsu podcast.
All right, okay.
And Mihael, we need you to start the podcast advising how to grow the clinic, because you have great experience. You're good organized and have good ideas.
I would love to share that. And I'm so grateful for Kumiko's uncle, Mr. Ohashi, who I met many years ago, who taught me how important it is to be successful and to have dignity and to feel that you deserve success. And it's important that many of us Shiatsu therapists are successful in our practices and also have the guts or the vision to open integrative clinics. It's so important, and this puts Shiatsu in the forefront.
Yes, we need more. We need to connect with more Shiatsu practitioners and other health professionals to give us such an important message. We
Yes.
human beings need to feel good, need to balance our life, balance our energy to do good things to others. It's very important we have balance. And like Mihael said, needs to improve our strong intuition to see, not to seem, hear, not to hear. So great to have you, and see you soon. Let's
See you
listen
soon.
to the taiko drum. It's such a great vibration. I hope everybody will have a great week and have a great Shiatsu sessions and great work to others. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mihael, for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kumiko. I'm really grateful I can be a part of the community. And everyone, you can watch the recording on our YouTube channel. Please we have lectures there. And also, so very much. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.